Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 13. So Module 13 is where you're turning in your research essay. We are also starting the world myths that we'll be discussing for the next few modules up until the end of the semester. So you get your first set of world myths in this unit, and that will carry over into the next unit where you'll actually get a chance to work with and discuss those stories. But the main thing that we're going to be doing in this unit is actually finishing up your research paper. So let me show you what I have here for you. The first thing is our Module 13 readings, which are the Egyptian myths. So we're going to start with ancient Egypt. You'll notice that there's a lot in common with Egypt and the Greek myths because they were so close together geographically. We get a lot of crossover. In fact, one of our stories early on in the textbook on the Greek myths is actually an explanation of how the Egyptian myths came to be. So there's some tie between the two of them. And you have two websites that you can look at. This first one is just background on Osiris, who was probably the main deity, if they had a main deity, for the Egyptian myths. And then this one is a PDF link to the creation story. And so you'll see some similarities between how the creation story worked, how it's similar to the Greek myths and the Norse myths. So it's just a really short, actually, PDF. And a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with this story. This is kind of a short version, I guess. I've read some that are much longer and more involved, but we really just need to know the basics for the purpose of this class. So you're more than welcome to go and look for longer, more detailed versions of that myth. I also have a couple of videos linked in for those of you who are really interested in Egypt. Some of you, I think, are also doing this for your research topic, so those might help you. So then the other stuff in this module is just based on the research essay, the criteria sheet, again, which you've seen before. Again, you're using your topic from the topic proposal that you completed several modules ago. You did an annotated bibliography on it. In the previous unit, there was a spot to submit your rough draft or an outline, which you're more than welcome to still do in this unit. Just make sure that you give me a few days to respond to you, because sometimes I won't always see the submission. So make sure that you give me a few days. If you want to, submit your rough draft and then email me, you can also, just so that, I know to get to it a little bit faster. But this is basic criteria of the assignment, making sure that you have a clear thesis, a logical organization pattern, lots of effective examples. Most of the essay, because it's a research essay, is going to be the research that you found. So lots of details, explanations, and that kind of thing from sources. You are encouraged to use your sources from your annotated bibliography. You have to use a 5 minimum. You can find more sources beyond what you found in the annotated bibliography if you need to. But all of the sources that are on your works cited page need to be referenced somewhere in the text of your essay. Obviously, you want to avoid first person. You should not be discussing any personal experience or opinion. Instead, we're writing about the research that you found, and it's a 5-page paper, and you have the choice of MLA or APA style. So the other things in this module, I have some MLA examples for citations of formatting. MLA is the style that we use in our English classes, and so that is the one that I am encouraging you to use if you know how to do both of them. However, some students are in classes currently where APA is pretty much all they use, and so they get themselves a little confused, and so it's fine if you want to use APA. I just don't have any examples for you because I don't use it in my classes. So basically the idea with MLA then is that you have a list of works cited. You should hopefully have some comments on your annotated bibliography by the time you turn this in, which means you can go and look and see whether or not your citations are looking correct. And then your in-text citations, those are the references that are in the paper to the sources. So rather than doing numbers with footnotes and endnotes or some other style, we are using references, and the references will look like this. So if this is your works cited entry, it's going to look like this on your works cited page, and then this is going to be at the end of the sentence in any sentence that contains information that came from this source. If you want to reference it in the sentence instead of in parentheses, that's fine. You would do it according to, and this is what we typically use for quotations, because we want to make sure that we are transitioning between your words and the words of someone else. So we provide a transition using what's called a signal phrase or attributive tag or something like that. Same thing here. This would be what a book looks like. And then this would be the parenthetical reference, so what's going to go in parentheses at the end of the sentence. And this would be what it looks like in the sentence. Where students often get confused is if they have a source with no author's name. So this is an example of a source with no author. The parenthetical reference is going to be the first part of the works cited entry. And those of you who've taken my classes before, I emphasize this a lot, but it'll be first part of the works cited entry. We're not going to use Theoi. We're not going to use Theoi project. We're not going to use Amazon. We're not going to use anything in the middle. We're going to use the very first part. It's going to go in parentheses. It's going to go in the sentence. You kind of have that choice, either or, but you have to use the first part of the works cited entry. APA works very similarly. Again, using that first part of the works cited entry as your reference. APA also includes years things were published. So I also have how to use the online writing lab. If you choose to use the online writing lab, you'll use the BrainFuse online tutoring link right here, and make sure that you give them at least 2 business days to respond to you. And I've got a video there to help you navigate and how to find the response that'll come back to you. And then this is the submission spot. Again, we have a rubric. This is what I'm going to use to grade your essay. You want to probably read through it to make sure that you're scoring within the proficient to excellent category for most of the criteria. If you want a good grade on the assignment, I have a link to the assignment criteria just so you don't forget. And these are just some formatting reminders before you submit. So that is the main assignment that we're working on in this module, and as well as starting to read some of those world myths. But you want to be giving yourself the whole week to work on this essay. Don't wait until the last minute. Give yourself plenty of time to proofread and edit. I highly recommend reading out loud, printing it out and reading it out loud, having someone else read it to you, or using one of those programs that will read the text on the screen to you, because those are the best ways to catch your own errors. And this is a big assignment. It's worth a lot of points. Make sure that you give yourself enough time to proofread and edit it. You don't want a poor score because you rushed through it and just slapped something together and then hoped for the best. You can definitely take the whole week to work on this, and that's what I encourage you to do. So let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a great week.